Okay, boys, I just wanted to let everybody know that these podcast Mishnah Shurim are available anywhere where you can find your podcasts, whether it's on Spotify, Google Podcasts. I have also a WhatsApp group if you want to join, and it's on YidPod and Jewish Podcast FM, which is the creator of YidPod. And with this, we would like to start the 7th parak in Masechta Bרכot. So the 7th parak is going to discuss Hilchos Birkas Hamazon, benching, and Hilchos Zimon. These two, we'll look at it as two separate things. The Hilchos Zimon is, like this mission is going to teach us, if three or more people eat together, and Birkas Hamazon is benching. The first bracha was, the Gemara explains, was created by Moshe Rabbeinu. The second bracha was Yeshua ben Nun. And Rachim Noah, which is the third bracha, was from, as we explained in yesterday's Mishnah, and the end of the 6th parak, that was created by David HaMelech and Shlomo. It's all about Bnei Yerushalayim. And the last bracha that we make, Hatov HaMeitiv, was a much later takana when the Haruge Beitar, by the Chorban Beitar was destroyed. They were nitin l'kvura. Hatov, that they were nitin l'kvura, v'hameitim, that the bodies didn't rot when they were sitting out for such a long time. And Harachamons was altogether a later takana. So shloisha she'achlu ke'echa, 3 people that ate together, chayav and lezamein, they're mechuyev to make a zimun. Because they sat together, they have to make a bracha berabim, so they have to make a bracha of 3 people that ate together, nevarach shechal mishaloi. Ochel demai, which is fruit, if they ate demai, which is food of Amaretz, which we don't know if Maisa was taken off of. Demai means domai. What is this? Was food taken off from this Maisa? Was Maisa taken off from this food or not? Because they're chashud on Maisa, because we suspect them that they didn't take off Maisa properly. The Chachamim answered us from eating from their peiros until we took off Maisa. And if he ate from this food and he didn't take off Meiser, he still makes a bracha, and it's not considered a mitzvah haba ba'aveiro, because most Amei Haaretz, most people that we suspect that they didn't take off Meiser, they really do. Meiser rishon shenitla trumasai. So the Seder Hadvarim is like this. First, you have to take off truma, which is the midah baininus. The average person gives a 50th, which is 2% of his produce to the kayin. Then after that, the 98% that's left, he has to take off 10% of that and give that to the Levi. Now, what the Levi has to do is he has to take off 10% of that and give that to the Kohen. But a lot of times, the Yisrael will include that within the Maisa that he gives to the Kohen. The Yisrael will include it within the Truma that he gives to the Kohen, and that's called Trumas Meiser. So Meiser Rishon Shenitla Trumasai, meaning even though he didn't take off Truma Gedali yet, so he just took off Meiser, right? Why would it be that a person would take off Meiser before he took off Truma? So the case would be that the Levi came first. There's a reason like the Kahanim use him, but not in this case. The Levi came first, and he took Meiser before the Kohen took the Truma, and really the Kohen is supposed to take the Truma first. So Meiser Rishon Shenitla Trumasai sounds like it's good quality, but in the end, it's really that there's something missing over here. Aval Pika, and he could still be part of the Zimun. Meiser Sheni v'hektish nifdu. Meiser Sheni, some years of the Shemitah cycle is Meiser Rishon. You give it to the Levi. Some years is Meiser Ani, and then there's Meiser Sheni. And Meiser Sheni and hektish. So what's Meiser Sheni? Meiser Sheni is that you got to bring a 10th of your pairs up to Yerushalayim and eat it. Now, what happens if the guy has a whole truckload full of grapes and he lives 4 hours away from Yerushalayim? So by the time he brings it to Yerushalayim, it's in the middle of the summer, it's all going to get ruined. So what he could do is he could transfer the Kedushas Meiser of these fruits onto money, go up to Yerushalayim with that money, and take that money and go buy whatever food he would like, as is explained at great length and in great detail in Masechta Meiser Sheni. And what happens is that Hektish also, he was paided, but what was the problem? He wasn't paided properly. What does that mean? He didn't give a chaimesh. When a person's paided something from Hektish, when a person redeems something from Hektish, or a person redeems Meiser Sheni, he has to add a 5th as well. It's what a person has to do. a shamish, the person, a waiter that's serving the meal, he ate a kazayas, he doesn't have a kvius in the suda because he's walking around. So you would think that he can't be mitzdarf to the zimun because he never sat down. He's not part of these people that were nizdamin yachad levarich b'lashon rabbim. He wasn't part of that. So even though he's not really part of the group, he's still able to be mezamin with them, and it's not considered a bracha ba'avera. V'hakusi. So what are kusim? Kusim is a very interesting story. In Malachim Bey's Perek Zayin, there was a story that there were people in the cities of Shomron that were from a place called Kusa, and they settled in Shomron, and they were doing avodah zarah. So it was a big issue. So Hashem sent lions to attack them, and they became gerim because of the lions were attacking them. They kept everything in Torah Shabbat, and any of the mitzvahs that they kept, any mitzvahs that they took on, they're medactic, but Yisrael Yisrael, the Gemara says, they're more careful in the mitzvahs that they do more than the Yidden. So they believed in only some of the mitzvahs. They didn't believe in all the mitzvahs. But eventually, at a later date, they were doing some research into these kusim, and they found the most yaina b'roish har grizim she'oivd ma'isa. They found a form of a dove on the top of har grizim, and they were worshiping it. So after they made this discovery, they were considered goyim gemurim l'chol devrayim. They're considered like goyim for everything. So now you can't be mezamin with a kusi. But at the times of the Mishnah, you were able to be mezamin with a kusi because he kept most mitzvahs. So the question why they were so busy with the yona on har grizim that we explained in a different shir in Parakhelek, which you should be able to find somewhere in the podcast a while back, that in the Parakhelek we discussed this. So all these people, the Achal Dmai, Ma'aser Rishon Shnitl Trumasoi, Ma'aser Sheni Vekdeshin Nivdu, Sham Shalchot Kazais, and Kusi, Mizamin Aleim, these people could be part of the Zimon. It's not a problem. Aval Ochal Tevel, but he ate Tevel, that's food that no Trumas or Maisus were taken from at all. And the Rav actually says that Tevel is a lashon of Tavloi. It's no good. Ma'aser Rishon Shalenet La Trumasoi, or Ma'aser Rishon that he didn't take of Truma at all. Ma'aser Sheni v'hektish Shaloin Nivdu. And Ma'aser Sheni and hektish that weren't paida, that you didn't redeem it at all. So then if he ate it, so then l'chara he can't be part of the zimun. So the question is, it's l'chara pashut that if he ate Ma'aser Sheni v'hektish Shaloin Nivdu, that he can't be part of the zimun. So what's the question? It's pashut. So the Gemara explains that he was paida, but he wasn't paida kahalocha. What does it mean he's paida kahalocha? So either he was paida with like silver flakes, not on a coin, or on a coin that didn't have a tzura. Because the pasuk says v'tzarta hakesef biyadecha, and the Gemara darshans that the coin has to have a tzura. And by hektish, it means that he was mechalel it onto a piece of property, and it wasn't paida onto silver. And by hektish, the pasuk says v'nasan has hakesef. So v'hashamish ochal pachas mikazayas, and a shamish, a waiter that ate less than a kazayas. So really, this is pashut also that a shamish ochal pachas mikazayas is not part of the zimun. But because we mentioned in the beginning of the Mishnah shamish ochal kazayas, so at the end of the Mishnah we also mentioned shamish ochal pachas mikazayas. So hanochri, a plain and simple guy, he is in mezam naleim. They can't be part of the zimun. L'chayra, a nochri is not mochiv in any mitzvah. So why should we think that we should make him part of the zimun over here? So the Gemara explains that we're talking about a gershom mol v'loy taval. We're talking about someone who's in the midst of his gerus process. So he started his gerus. So the Gemara explains that Kol's man he wasn't tavel yet, he's still considered a goy even though he has a milah. Okay, that's the end of Mishnah Aleph. Who can be part of the zimun and who not? Mishnah Beis. Noshim avodim k'tanim ein mezamin aleim. Women, slaves, and children, they cannot make a zimun in mezamna aleim. We wouldn't make a zimun with them, it sounds like. What's the halach over here? What's going on? So, even if a woman, even if her husband's there, can't be part of the zimun. But if she ate together with 3 men, she's mechuyev in zimun, but she's yoytze the zimun. She gets parted from the zimun by being yoytze with the men. But if women eat together, if 3 women eat together, they have reshus to be mezamin. But I don't know that it's a mitzvah lechatchila for them to do it. But it is a reshus that they can. Avodim and ketanim. What kind of ketanim are we talking about? We're talking about ketanim that don't know, that don't have enough knowledge and awareness to know who they're benching to. But a katan hayedel mimavarchin, a katan, a child under bar mitzvah that knows who we're benching to. Like the Gemara brings a story that Rabbah asked Abaya and Rabbah, do you know who we're benching to? So one of them pointed to the ceiling, and the other one went outside and pointed to the sky. So either way, and he said, Boots and Mekatsu Nidir, both of them are going to grow up to be great Talmidei Chachamim. So either way, the Ketanim is that we're talking about over here is Davka Katan that does not know who they're making a bracha to. Avadim, if they get together and want to make a Zimun, they're allowed to make a Zimun together. They have a Rishos, just like a Zimun of only Nashim, that's also a Rishos. Avadim could also, because they're Mechuyev b'mitzvahs k'Nashim, but Avadim and Nashim, they're not allowed to be Mitzarv together. They cannot be combined together to make a Zimun, because we're Chayshish for Pritzos. That's what the Gemara says, so that wouldn't work. Ad kama mezamnin. How much do you have to eat in order to be mechuyev and zimun? Now, why should this be any different than birkas hamazon? L'chayr, it should be the same thing. And that's exactly what the Treish Yisrael says. Hu adin de pligi l'nichiv birkas hamazon. This machlekes in the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanakama that we're going to see right now is also machlekes for birkas hamazon. But the chiddush over here is that it's going to teach us that you even do zimun on a kezayis, which in and of itself is a very small share. So ad kama mezamin, how much do you have to eat in order to be mezamin or birkas hamazon ad kezayis? Even though the pasuk says v'chalta v'savat v'rachta, right? That's what the Gemara says. That Hakadosh Baruch Hu says, how could I not be nicely panim to Klal Yisrael? I said in the Torah v'chalta v'savat v'rachta, and they bench even with kezayis. I mean that they're so willing to bench even when they ate so little. So Yehuda Emer ad kebeya, until the size of an egg, because it says that the pasuk says v'chalta v'savata, the ikar sviyah, the ikar satiation comes from after eating the size of a beya. The Tanakama learns that v'chalta v'savata means to drink, and we pass in the Torah only a person who is satisfied as mechuyev birkas hamazon and doesn't need to drink. Okay, that is the end of Mishnah Beis, Mishnah Gimel. Ketan mezamin. What is exactly the zimun and how do you do it? B'shloisha omer nevarech. What do you say? You say nevarech shachalnu mishaloi, and that's what you do. B'shloisha v'hu. If you have 3 people and the person leading the suda, like we spoke in the previous parak, omer baruch hu. Because even without him, there's still a zimun. What's baruch over here? Because it's a different nusach of the bracha, because b'roivam hadras melech. And the Taisus explains that baruch is a lashon of tzivah levarech Hashem, masha ein kein levarech is rak netilas reshus. Baruch, we're going to bench together. Baruch means I'm benching Hashem. I'm benching Hashem. Let's all go. Ba'asara omer nevarech le'elokeinu. When you have 10 people eating together, we say elokeinu. We still do that today. Ba'asara v'hu omer baruch. Again with 10 and him. When you have 11 people, then you say baruch because it's b'roiv am. Okay. Echad asar v'echad asar ribu. Whether you have 10 or whether you have 100,000. What do you mean whether you have 100,000? So that you would say Baruch Hu or Nevarech. That if you have one more, then that's what you would do. B'meya omer Nevarech l'Hashem alekeinu. When you have 100 people, you say Nevarech l'Hashem alekeinu. B'meya v'hu, when you have 101, you say Baruch Hu. Be'elaf, when you have 1,000, every 0 that you add to the number, it seems that you add more to the bracha. So be'elaf omer nevarech l'Hashem alekeinu alekei Yisrael. Be'elaf v'hu omer baruch hu. Be'ribui, when you have 10,000, omer nevarech l'Hashem alekeinu alekei Yisrael alekei atzva'os yoshev hakur ma'al hamazon she'achalnu. and you say this whole long nusach of, because it's such a bracha when so many people are benching and praising Hashem for the food that they ate together. And obviously, b'ribay v'hu, Omer Baruch Hu. Whatever the mevarech says, whatever the person who's leading the Zimon says, that's how the Meshatvim and the Suda, those that were Achlu Ke'echad, that's how they're going to respond. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Yisrael Elokei Atzvakos Yeshiv Akruvim Al Hamazon Sha'achalnu. That's how they respond. And that's taka how we do. We start off Rabbi Yisrael Benchen or Rabbi Yisrael Nevarech, and then we say Yishem Hashem Avarech Matavad Olam, and then the person who's benching repeats that, and then they say Baruch Shachalnu Mishlev Tzvei Chayinu, and then after everybody says that, so then we say Baruch Shachalnu Mishlev, and then everyone responds Baruch Shachalnu Mishlev Tzvei Chayinu, and then the Mevarech also goes that over and says Baruch Shachalnu Mishlev Tzvei Chayinu or Baruch Elokeinu Shachalnu Mishlev Tzvei Chayinu. Obviously, the Mishnah doesn't mention over here anything about what we're meisef by a simcha, by a chasana, simcha. If you look in the back of the Gemara, I think it's written in just about every Gemara, there's a marshal that the marshal said Shasimcha b'ayne b'yasiyum, and there was a kpeda from Shemayim on him that he did that. So the question is, what was the svara that he should do l'chatchila? What was the taina on him, and what was the kpeda? So look in the back of every Gemara, it's there. So b'ribay v'hu Omer Baruch Hu k'inyan shu mevarch achar nemachar Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Yisrael Elokei Atzvakos Yeshiv Akruvim Al Hamazon Sha'achalnu. Rabbi Yossi Glili Omer L'fi Reva Kol Hem Mevarch. Rabbi Yossi Glili says, dependent on the size of the congregation or the gathering, that's how you make a bracha. Shenema, the pasuk says in Tehillim, Makeles Baruch Hu Elokim Hashem Emker Yisrael. That when you have a big gathering of people, they're going to bench Hashem Baruch Hu Elokim Hashem Emker Yisrael, and they're all different Yidden, all getting together to give a bracha to Hashem. Rabbi Kiva, Mamatzin Beis HaKnesses. Rabbi Kiva says, what do we find in Beis HaKnesses? Echem Rubim v'Echem Ruadim Omer Baruch Hu Es Hashem. By davening, it doesn't matter how many people are there. We say Baruch Hu Es Hashem. We don't change anything just because there's more people there, right? So the question is this Baruch Hu that we're talking about here by davening, or this Baruch Hu we're talking about is when a person is Eilul L'Sefer Torah? So it sounds like we're talking about when a person is Eilul L'Sefer Torah. So I'm going to read what it says in Malachi Shlomo. That when a person makes a bracha on a Sefer Torah, even if there's more than 10 people over there, there's no difference if there's more than 10 people or not. So how come over here it is different? So that's what Rabbi Kiva says, we're not machalik. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Baruch Hu Es Hashem HaMevarach. Rabbi Shmuel says, Baruch Hu Es Hashem HaMevarach, not just Baruch Hu Es Hashem. So what's going on over here? What's Baruch Hu Es Hashem? What's Baruch Hu Es Hashem HaMevarach? So the Torah Yisrael explains that we're talking about in the Beis HaKnesses, like the Gemara says. And we pass in like Rabbi Shmuel and not like Rabbi Kiva over here, that the halacha is Baruch Hu Es Hashem. So what's the pshat? So the Malachi Shlomo says, the hashta mikeim shu omer hamavarach afu eina moitzi atzam min haklal. That when a person says Baruch Hu Es Hashem, so he's telling everybody else, you bench Hashem. What about him? So Baruch Hu Es Hashem hamavarach, he's including himself in the bracha as a klal gadol and davening, and we're seeing it over here as well in brachas, that a person should always be mishatef himself b'hadi tzibura. That's why when a person says tefillah in Shemon Esrei b'frat, we don't say rifa'eni, we say rifa'enu. Hashiveni, we say hashivenu. Right? The Gemara speaks us up by Tfilas Haderech. Then we should say Shatol Chinu L'Shalom. It's a lashon rabbah, and not just a lashon yochid. So that's why Rabbi Shmuel says we should say Baruch Hu Es Hashem HaMevarach, because the point is that everybody's gathered together. So if everybody's gathered together, you should be included in the bracha also. And the lashon of the Haggadah Shel Pesach is Lefi Shahiti is Atzum Min HaKlal Kal Fabeikar. A person who took himself out of the klal, he was Kaifer Hashem, and that made a very big problem. Mishnah Dalet. Three people that are together in Rosh Hashanah L'chalik, they're not allowed to split up because there's the chiyuv of Zimon. If they split up, there's no longer going to be a chiyuv of Zimon. If you have 4 people, you can't split it. If you have 5 people, you can't split it, because you have to be left with 3. They're mechuyev to stick to the 3 in order to make a Zimon. meaning that even though three out of these people could make a zimun, but he has to be stuck. He's going to be stuck with them. He's kavua by this suda. He's going to have to be kavua by this chiv of zimun. Shisha nechlokin. If you have 6 people, they could be split up at asara until 10. But asara ena nechlokin asher yu esrim, and because 10, we mentioned in the previous Mishnah that there's a Shem Hashem over here, so too they can't divide up until there's 20, because then there's going to be 2 times saying Elokeinu. But Avada and Avada, it's better if they stay together, because if the whole point of adding brachas and adding Shem Hashem to the bracha is because L'fi Reiv HaTzibrahim Evorchim, so if you have 10 people, why should you split up? You should have, the bigger the tzibur is, the better the better it is, right? So like even a lot of times when you know, in certain shuls, if 2 people have yard sites, so they try to split it up to make 2 minyanim to accommodate the other Baal Tefillah. So it's very nice to accommodate the other Baal Tefillah, but if you're splitting up the tzibur, this Mishnah sort of sounds like it doesn't like that idea. Mishnah Hey. The 2 parties going on in the same house. If the 2 parties are able to see each other, meaning they're close enough to each other that they're able to see each other, so Harei Elu Mitzarf and Lazima, they could be Mitzarf together for the same Zima. Why? Because we're trying to make it a bigger tzibur. And it's interesting, if you have one waiter that's serving both meals, so he's like the bridge that's connecting these 2 chaburas, so he's able to be Mitzarf these 2 sudas for a Zima. Vim lav, but if not, Elu Mizamnin La'atzman, Ve'elu Mizamnin La'atzman. But if there's no tziruf between these 2 sudas, so then these people have to make a zima for themselves, and the other party has to make a zima for themselves. Okay, here's one last thing that in the parak that the Mishnah mentions, that the halacha is really supposed to bench halakos, and it's a kashal bracha, as it's moved in the Gemara. The Gemara is begarichas by kashal bracha over here, and so you don't make a bar priagafen after benching until you pour water into the wine. So the question is, why do you have to pour water into the wine? Because they had very, very strong wine in those days, and you weren't able to drink it unless you diluted it with water. So it's not wine that's ready to be drunk yet until you pour the water in it. And not only that, but la halacha, the only reason why we make a special bracha on wine is because there's a mila to it. What's the milo? Because it's wine. The wine is drinkable. But if this is going to be too strong, it's not going to be drinkable, so it doesn't have the milo of wine, so we wouldn't even make hagafen on it. So you would end up making a very pre-eitz on that, like grapes. The Rebbe Lezer. The Chacham say you can still make a bracha on the wine even if you don't add water to it. Now why is this? Because it's not dependent on whether it's in this best state to be drunk or not. Because let's say a person would drink even a bad wine or a sour wine, he would still make hagafen because it's on this min that he would make the bracha. I just want to end off with an interesting story that my great-grandfather, Dr. Askowitz, was known for, that he would bench halakos even during the week when he was by himself. And, just recently, Rav Emerzi Bergman came to speak by the Adira HaTorah event in Lakewood, and he's being mechazik benching from a bencher. So obviously we know the Sefer HaChinuch talks about Riches, the school of Birkas HaMazon, but there's also a major story with my great-grandfather, Dr. Askowitz. Every Elul, he would get one of the Gedolei Rosh Yeshivas to come down to Philly where he lived, to come and be mechazik the community. And they would stay by him for a couple of days, and then they would go back. He had Rav Moshe, he had Rabbi Yaakov, Rav Ruderman came. One year he called Rav Gifta, and he asked Rav Gifta if he could come. So Rav Gifta says, it's in the middle of Elul, I should travel in the middle of Elul. Who ever heard of such a thing, traveling in the middle of Elul? So he convinced him, and then he said he's coming. So he came, and he spent time there, and he was mechazik the community. Good, whatever it was. Afterwards, Rav Gifta told people, he said it's kedai for any bachur ben hazmanim to get on a plane from wherever he is, fly down to Philly, and watch Dr. Askowitz bench. He'll get your Shemayim, and he'll be mechuzik for the rest of the zman. Zechisa yugain aleini tehei zichrei baruch. Hatzlacha ubracha.